Will Levis was not enough for the Tennessee Titans to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, but Titans fans should still be very encouraged. I'll explain why on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use that code LockedOnNFL, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. The Tennessee Titans lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers 20-16. But Titans fans should be very encouraged by what they saw out of quarterback Will Levis. I'm going to dive into his performance, the folks who let Will Levis down in this game, and also take a big picture look at the rest of the season to end the show. Before we get into all of that, thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year long on all apps. Always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. I'm going to have a bonus episode for you guys tomorrow with Tighten Up, Tighten Down. We're going to be breaking down this game on the film, the data, everything at the beginning of next week as well. So again, make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed to the Locked On Titans podcast. Throw a thumbs up on the video. The show's always free. All I ask for in return is the press of a button. And down below in the comments, give me your grade for Will Levis's performance against the Steelers. But that's where I'm going to start. And look, there are some people who are going to use some of the turnover-worthy plays that were in this game. Let's not mistake ourselves. There were quite a few. He threw the ball backwards one time under pressure. There was a possible interception on a sideline throw to DeAndre Hopkins. The interception at the end of the game, he's trying to force it. He's trying to score a touchdown. But right before that, he almost threw an interception as well. But again, trying to force it, trying to get the touchdown. You have to get it. Can't take a field goal. Can't take a sack. You got to throw the ball. So I get it. There were turnover-worthy plays in there. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, the majority of that game, Will Levis was keeping the Titans in it. He was delivering throws under pressure. The Titans' offensive line was bad in this game. The Titans' offensive line was bad coming in. And then they got injured in this game. And Will Levis was out there with Dylan Radins and Corey Levin and Jalen Duncan, and he was delivering passes. I mean, Will Levis unlocked Kyle Phillips. Will Levis made Kyle Phillips look like an NFL player again. Now, the Steelers are a really good team. Well, not really good team. Let's not say that. I think the Steelers are a good team. I mean, they're 5-3, but they have a really good defense. And they got Cam Hayward back. It was tough for the Titans to run. The Titans had 105 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. That's simply not good enough against a team that was allowing 137 yards per game. But again, Cam Hayward's return makes this a different defense. And that's something that me and Chris talked about on Crossover Thursday. But again, overall, it was Will Levis who was carrying the Titans down the field. It was Will Levis who was elevating his teammates. It was Will Levis who was making something out of nothing and finding ways to get the ball to his teammates. I mean, I was incredibly impressed by the performance. Again, at the beginning of the show, we acknowledged there are turnover-worthy plays in there. We're talking about a second career start for a rookie quarterback that was inactive for the first 6 weeks on the road in one of the toughest environments in the NFL, maybe the toughest environment in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers. On the road, short week, primetime pressure with a roster around him that simply isn't good enough. And Will Levis goes 22 for 39, 262 yards while taking 4 sacks. I mean, it wasn't perfect, and I'll continue to say that because I want to be honest, and I want to make sure that I'm not too overly complimentary, but I also don't want to, drill the guy too much. I'm trying to find balance here. And in my opinion, while you acknowledge the turnover-worthy plays, you acknowledge all the plays that he consistently made, it has been a long time since I felt like the quarterback was keeping the Titans in the game and elevating his teammates. When was the last time you really felt like Ryan Tannehill was elevating his teammates? 2020, right? 2020, some of those, 2019 at the end of the season when A.J. Brown was still a rookie and wasn't quite, peak. I mean, let's be honest here. I'm just going to say this. There are people who wanted Will Levis to fail all along, who don't want him to succeed, who are going to use the turnover-worthy plays as a way to tell you not to be excited about Will Levis and that he's not really who Titans fans hope he is and that blah, 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 blah. And I'm telling you, do not listen to those people. Do not listen to those people. All right? We're going to talk about it at the end of the show. So make sure that you guys stick around all the way through the end when I take a big picture look at this team. But where the Titans are at right now and where they could be after the offseason is totally different. And what we saw from Will Levis in this game is that if you get better around him, he is going to get better as well. Will Levis, with the chicken blank that he's dealing with right now, was turning that thing into chicken salad. By the way, chicken salad, oh, delicious. But anyways, I guess what it comes down to is I know a lot of you guys in the comments, I know a lot of you guys listening right now on your morning commute on a Friday are waking up disappointed or you feel disappointed because you wanted your team to pull through in that situation. And I get it. I wanted them to pull that out. I wanted Levis to deliver a strike for a touchdown win. I get it. But even though that didn't happen, do not let people take the bad plays that were there and ruin your excitement about what the Titans may have here in Will Levis. Because what we saw out there was him carry this team at moments and times. And the good that happened for the Titans a lot of the time was because Will Levis was making it happen. So it wasn't all perfect. I'm not trying to act like it was. But there is far more good than there is bad, especially considering that the Steelers were not letting Levis throw deep. That I can't wait to watch the tape and break it down with you guys and talk about what happened because I'm pretty certain that the Steelers ran a lot of deep coverages, 2 high safeties. They kept it so that Will Levis couldn't take the top off the defense, and the Titans weren't efficient enough on first downs to constantly be in 3rd and short. And I thought that in this game, Levis would be tested. He would be tested because the Steelers weren't going to let him take those shots downfield, and they didn't. He tried a couple of times, and they just weren't there. They made Will Levis throw underneath, find seams on the interior of the defense, and for the most part, he found them. I thought Will Levis did a great job. Again, 22 for 39, 262, did have the interception while he was trying to force it at the end of the game. But overall, my big takeaway here is Will Levis is the guy that we hoped he is. I am more encouraged by this performance, and I think the bigger issue for the Titans, which has been the bigger issue, and we've known it all along coming into the season, is the roster around him isn't good enough. And we're going to talk more about that big picture look at the end of the show. But right now, I want to talk about all the other aspects of the team that failed Will Levis, because the majority of the other parts of this team were simply not good enough on Thursday Night Football, and it highlighted it here. So I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. Before we get into it, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Look, guys, PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy. I love PrizePicks because instead of playing against 1,000 lineups from a bot or these pros and these sharps and all this, it's just me against the PrizePicks projections. PrizePicks projects a stat for every player. Derrick Henry, 80 rushing yards. Will Levis, 200 passing yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 4 catches. All you do is pick 2 to 6 players and say whether they're going to do more or less than the projection. And with basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections. So you can have some football projections in there. Travis Kelce, 100 yards, and LeBron James made 3-pointers. You know, you can put them all together. It's absolutely fantastic. It makes it so fun, especially with all the sports going on right now. You want to play along some of PrizePicks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill or comedian Andrew Schultz. You can find that now in the community plays under the promos tab in the app and view the entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community. Make sure that you guys go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, it's daily fantasy sports made easy. Titans fans, let's continue this reaction episode to the Tennessee Titans 20-16 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just talked about Will Levis. I thought that Will Levis was fantastic in this game. There were some mistakes in there, just like I talked about last week in his first start. But with the circumstances, I thought Levis did a really good job. Now I want to get into the rest of the team that let Will Levis down in this game and all the failing parts of the Titans operation against the Steelers. Before I get into it, I do want to thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. The end of the show, I'm going to do a big picture look at the Titans' future, talk about why you should all be feeling very optimistic. Next week, we're going to continue breaking down this performance, dive into the film, dive into the data, continue contextualizing the season, and how are the Titans going to do the rest of the season throughout the mini bye. Talking about all that, make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Will Levis. I said, let me know what grade you would give Will Levis in this game. Now I want to know, which part of the Titans team failed them the most? Was it the O-line? Was it the pass catchers? Was it the defense? Was it the secondary? You guys tell me. Was it coaching? I want to hear down below what you think failed the Titans the most in this game. But for me, it starts with that offensive line. I'm going to start there. I mean, Will Levis was trying his best, but 4 sacks, and I didn't think maybe one of them was on Levis, leaving a pocket a little bit too early, but we're talking about cluster injuries. The Titans coming into the game had Chris Hubbard out with a concussion, so that's one offensive tackle, and their best offensive tackle. If Chris Hubbard, who hasn't started in 3 seasons and is in his 30s, who you signed off the streets a couple of weeks before training camp, is your best offensive tackle, you know you got problems. No disrespect to the way Hubbard's been playing, but come on, guys, let's be honest. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, week by week, makes me lose confidence that he can be a starting tackle in the NFL. He got hurt in this game too, so maybe that contributed to the poor play, but simply not good enough. Then on the other side, obviously, we know that Andre Dillard isn't a starter. That's why he got benched when Nicholas Petit-Ferrer came back, but the Titans have the injuries. He has to play. Then you have NPF going out, so Radens is in. Then Dillard goes out for a little bit, and Jalen Duncan is in for a few plays. Brunskill's out, and Levin's in. Skoronski goes out for a couple of plays, and you got Radens and Levins and Duncan, and it was just an absolute travesty out there. And when all those guys are getting hurt, the Titans simply don't have a lot of chance to sustain drives, to give Levis clean pockets, even to run those play-action passes. The Steelers started getting pressure on the Titans because the Titans offensive line, even in those situations, was still struggling with all the injuries. And then the reality of just the lack of talent there, so the offensive line overall, and we'll continue on offense. Kyle Phillips showed up in this game, 4 catches for 68 yards. Really like that in the 2-minute drill. Of course, that's always when the tempo goes up, Phillips finds a way to be successful. DeAndre Hopkins, 4 catches for 60 yards, but the Steelers just said, we are not letting DeAndre Hopkins beat us in the second half. And the problem that the Titans had when they had A.J. Brown as well is when you take away the number one option, who is going to win on the other side? And that's why the Titans were at their best offensively in the last 5 years when they had Corey Davis. And look, I don't want to harp on the guy because I feel bad about the injury. There is a human element to this, and you don't want to kick a guy when he's down, especially when you see a scary injury like that. But the reality here is Burks is simply not a first-round pick for the Titans. He's just not a guy who's ever going to live up to that. Maybe some people will say I'm calling it early, but I feel like a lot of you agree with me. We've seen enough. The body control isn't there. The route running isn't there. The ability to win contested catches consistently just isn't there. He just disappears throughout games. And again, you hope that he feels better. You hope the injury isn't anything significant. All of my thoughts are with Treylon Burks' health. Don't get me wrong, but we have to be honest here. And I don't mean to dog on him, but we have to talk about this game. And the Titans didn't have enough options outside of DeAndre Hopkins to win the game and to consistently attack the Steelers defense, who is going to be a much improved defense down the road now that they have Cam Hayward back in the lineup. I knew that it was fool's gold to look at the Steelers defense without Cam Hayward and think that's what you're going to get in this game. So for me, there just weren't enough playmakers outside of Hopkins for the majority of the game to win that Levis could go to, along with the pressure that he was under on the offensive line. And I'll just stick on offense right now. Sorry, I am a little bit sick. I'm fighting through it. I was on the injured list, questionable, before the game. All jokes aside, but The play calling at the end, I know everybody's mad about that. I have defended Tim Kelly all year long. I think people who are mad about Tim Kelly simply aren't watching the tape and understanding who's open, the concepts that are being used, the way the Titans are trying to attack. I think Tim Kelly has done a good job this year. But the route concept on fourth down, I'm not even going to dog the third down run call that got no yards for Tajay Spears. You guys can do that, but I like that call. You run it when you know you're going for it on fourth down. I'm not going to hate on that one. It didn't work, but I'm not going to pretend like I didn't like it because it didn't work. I did like that call. The fourth down route combinations used, you had a deep crosser, an intermediate crosser to DeAndre Hopkins, and then you had a go route down the sideline to Treylon Burks. It's 4th and 3. I know that maybe you're thinking, hey, we can catch him here playing underneath, but to me, it's like the long throw to NWI at the end of the first half against the Falcons. You just have to be more conservative there. You have to get your first down, run some motion, come out in a bunch, have some sit-down routes in the zones, pick up that first down, and continue your drive. I have defended Tim Kelly all year, and I think Tim Kelly is doing a good job. But I did not like the fourth down route combinations being so deep down the field when you needed 3 yards. So when you have the O-line, the lack of playmakers, the play calling maybe being a little questionable, and then you get to the defense. This secondary is just so poor, especially with the injuries. Sean Murphy-Bunting went out early. I said it on Twitter, and I'm going to repeat it here. I liked Eric Garrower in the preseason, and maybe the rookie improves with time. But Eric Garrower cannot be your slot cornerback next week. And whether they pick up a guy off the street, whether they use Amani Marsh off the practice squad, if Roger McCreary is not able to play after a 10-day rest, then you got to go get somebody else because you can't put Garrer out there anymore. He has just been targeted consistently. The tackling in this game was so bad. The linebackers, Azeez Al-Shire is not a bad player, but he struggles to tackle. It's insane how much he falls off tackles. Eric Garrower is Chris Jackson 2.0. Yeah, it's very much the same. Swag Samurai. Sweet name there, fella. But yeah, Elijah Molden, Terrell Edmonds. I'm going to do a bonus episode for you guys. I'm going to do a 6th episode on Friday. It'll come out 6 p.m. on Friday. I'm just going to do 2 segments, 10 minutes apiece, tighten ups and tighten downs to dive deeper into it. But the safeties in this game, Edmonds, Molden, even Hooker at times. Hooker wasn't quite as bad as Molden's and Edmonds, but the safeties the Titans missed Kevin Byard dearly in this game. They sure did. So the secondary, particularly a mess. Disappointed by the Titans' run defense as well, and the linebackers' ability to tackle, everybody's ability to tackle. The Steelers were making the Titans pick their poison. If you're going to play nickel, we're going to spread you out so that you only have 6 in the box, and we're going to run. If you try to shade in to get closer to help the run, we're going to throw those quick bubble screens outside and force you to be physical and tackle. And the Titans just didn't step up to the challenge in the secondary. So disappointing nonetheless, but want to move forward because in my mind, it's an optimistic day. I know a lot of you guys are so mad right now, but for me, I feel very encouraged, very optimistic, especially when you consider the future for the Tennessee Titans. So we're going to take a big picture view of things and how I'm feeling right now about this future in just a moment. But before we get into that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash, especially my people there in Nashville. It's never a bad time to hop on the DoorDash app, get you some Acme Feed and Seed delivered to your house. A great restaurant right there on the river in Nashville, a favorite of mine every time I visit. You guys can get you some as well during Sunday, Titans aren't going to play. Good time to DoorDash you some food and settle down to watch the rest of the NFL. DoorDash has always delivered. I love DoorDash personally. I got a place close to me that has a fantastic buffalo chicken wrap. Love getting it delivered for lunch while I'm working on film and writing articles and all of that. Make sure that you guys go download the DoorDash app right now. Use the promo code LOCKED23, and you can get up to 50% off up to $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order, subject to change. Terms apply. Again, get up to 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. Download DoorDash, promo code LOCKED23, subject to change. Terms apply. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about the encouraging performance of Will Levis, the folks who let him down on the Titans on Thursday night. Now I want to take a big picture view. Look at the future and how I'm feeling about the Titans after this game because, again, I am not discouraged. I am not defeated. I am not upset after this game. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that this game went exactly how I thought it would. Before I get into that, thanks again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. I break down film. I break down the data. I'm diving into schematics all the time. We talk about all the talking points, the biggest news, live every night, 6 p.m. on YouTube. You guys aren't going to find that anywhere else. Check out my writing at alltitans.com. Also, tomorrow, Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Locked On NFL Kickoff Live. Going to be live here on the Locked On Titans YouTube channel, breaking down all of the NFL action this weekend. Check that out. But I want to start here, and I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I thought this game would be 21-13, 20-13 when I talked on the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette podcast. This game went basically how I thought. The Steelers are at home on a short week. The Titans struggle on the road. The Titans historically struggle against the Steelers, especially in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is getting back Cam Hayward. Pittsburgh's biggest strength is against the Titans' biggest weakness. Will Levis is in his second career start as a rookie. I mean, all of those circumstances are against the Titans. Now, if they played this game in Tennessee, I think the Titans win it 24-13. Okay? But the reality here is this team, this roster is not good enough. It's not good enough. You knew that. Yes, you. Yeah. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. You knew that the Titans roster was not good enough coming into this year. We all knew it. We all knew it. That's why we talked about tank this, tank that. Don't play Tannehill, play Malik. That's what we've been talking about for 8 months, is that this team is not good enough. So don't bail on that now just because last week got you super excited. The offensive line is nowhere near good enough at offensive tackle. Nowhere near. They need a free agent signing, and they need a high draft pick there. The Titans don't have enough reliable weapons on offense. They have DeAndre Hopkins. Henry isn't in his prime anymore, but he can still be a tool for you. Spears will get better and continue to be a tool, but Chig has been a disappointment. Unfortunately, all health to Treylon Burks, but he's been a disappointment. Nick Westbrook-Akine is a good wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, but he's not good enough to be a consistent threat for you, beating man coverage and press coverage and stuff like that. The Titans need a speed wide receiver that can play every down. Phillips can be a role player on third downs in the slot, sure. But the Titans need better tight end play, especially in the pass game, someone who can be a weapon. The Titans need another wide receiver who can get down the field. Imagine if you put Will Levis with like a Jalen Waddle, if you put Will Levis with a Devontae Smith to go into college, if you put Will Levis with a Xavier Worthy, you know what I mean? One of these deep speed options who can vertically stretch the field. Imagine if the Titans had that. That's supposed to be Treylon Burks, but, you know, it is what it is. It's not. So the Titans' offensive line's not talented enough. They need 2 offensive tackles. They need 2 more wide receivers and another tight end. Chig simply can't block enough to be out there consistently. I think Josh Wiley can improve a lot and help them there. And then on defense, the Titans don't have enough depth in the secondary. And because they don't, and they're too vulnerable there, they don't allow their pass rush to get in 3rd and long. so that they can run twists and stunts. The Titans don't have enough one-on-one pass rushers who can win consistently one-on-one. The Titans win in the pass rush when they can do twists and stunts and games up front. Well, you can't do that on 3rd and short because the ball gets out too quick for those to get home. So the Titans rely on that run defense. And with the safeties right now, the Titans simply just aren't good enough. So at cornerback, at safety, at punt returner, Eric Garror catches the ball, but man, he was brutal to watch out there tonight returning punts. So this roster is just simply not good enough. But you know who is? William Donovan Levis. Like, guys, we wanted to tank. We all thought about tanking. We all thought about losing, getting draft picks because, hey, if we play Malik, we play Levis, and they're bad, we'll get a high draft pick. We can get Caleb Williams, Drake May, blah, 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 blah. Well, I think that what we've seen here is the Titans can build around Will Levis. And if you put a good team, a good roster around Will Levis, I am convinced now from what I've seen that the Titans can win big with Will Levis. Okay? I think the Titans can win big with Will Levis. It's just going to take some time. The reality is, if Will Levis were to win a Super Bowl with the Titans, it would probably be 2-3 years at minimum. We're talking 2025, 2026, when the Titans have had multiple off seasons to build the roster up. Okay? We all knew that going in. So make sure that you understand that that is where the team is still at right now. Just because, hey, we hit on Levis, this guy looks like the real deal. Don't let that cloud your judgment that the rest of this roster, people are mad they lost. And this team's probably still going to go 7-10, 6-11. But now I'm not mad about it because if you have the quarterback, you have what you need and you can build from there. I truly believe from what I've seen in 2 games, the Titans have the quarterback they can build around. They do. And that box being checked, that is the most important thing that you should be thinking about when you go to bed tonight or that you should be thinking about when you wake up on Friday morning. The Titans have the guy at quarterback they can build around. And that changes the way we feel about the season. That changes the way I feel about the future. So the Titans may have lost this game to the Pittsburgh Steelers 20-16. And it may suck that they lost the game. They may have lost the battle here, but I believe that the Titans may have won the war. And that makes me excited, and that makes me optimistic. And a lot of you guys think that I am a pessimistic fan, no faith, no belief, blah, blah, blah. And I'm here telling you guys, you should feel excited about the future because Will Levis looked dang good in that game, despite all of the circumstances that were against him. So with that being said, again, bonus episode on Friday with Tighten Up, Tighten Down. Make sure that you guys are back for that. Subscribe to the Locked On Titans YouTube channel. I put out free content every freaking day, consistently, always. I write articles for Sports Illustrated at alltitans.com. My Twitter account is always a great follow at TicTacTitans. You're not going to find this much content, the film, the data, the talking points. You're not going to find the total package of Titans content anywhere else other than here at the Locked On Titans podcast with me, your host, Tyler Rowland. So, shout out to you guys. Again, I know that it sucks to lose, but I feel very, very encouraged about where the Tennessee Titans are headed with Will Levis at the helm. But it's been a long night. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning here to 12:30 here in the East Coast. So that is going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.